guys, what's up? So quick video over here. This is basically another quick update, but this is on the high budget CoC build. Alright, so those of you that are following me, this will be the final build POB for the high budget, right? There are a few changes of it, and the changes are meant to scale what I feel is worth it and not worth it. So previously, I think some of the items are way too expensive, some of them are really not needed. I will explain it throughout the video, okay? And what I can tell you is the good news. On the good news is this high budget version, right, is actually a lot more cheaper than my previous versions, okay? For those of you that have been following my mid-budget build, it will be actually even more cheaper because you can bring over some of the items or the core equipments from the mid-budget to the high-budget variant, alright? So that is the whole purpose of me really sitting down and brainstorming on what I can transit to without, buying too much equipment. I really want to use the previous ones for the high budget, and the transition isn't so tedious. Okay, so before I begin, I am going to show you a clip of me running on the high budget version, and then thereafter I will reintroduce the POB for the high budget and explain the changes I have made. Okay, so please be sure to listen really carefully because there are alternate options on the build. Of course, I really prefer not to explain it over and over again. Whatever is very important, I would have written down in the notes, either on the POB or in the Google spreadsheet. Alright, so the Google spreadsheet has been updated with the latest POB, and the trade links are all up as well. If you do notice any mistake, please let me know. I will try to change it as soon as possible. Okay, so the rest of the things you can just feel free to take a look at yourself. Alright, and this is the Ice Nova skill tree. So before I go through the changes, I'll just take a very high level look for you. We have about 5.6k ES. Okay, this is at level 95. So roughly around there, you should have at least more than 5k ES, right? When you reach this point of view. I don't care whether it is a lower tier ES or not. Even if you are going for a tier 3 ES, you should definitely have more than 5k. Alright. Armor wise, we are going to see at 21k roughly, so about more than 80% physical damage reduction if you are using the Watcher's Eye with determination as well. And cap resist and chaos resistance is around 37. Alright, we cannot I really cannot cap this unless you can find other sources of chaos resistance, like for example on your large cluster jewel, on your medium cluster jewel and stuff like that. Those are bonus incentives, and we're gonna have about 10.5 million DPS. This is at the maximum peak. Okay, maximum peak is about 10.5 million DPS at level 95. Alright, so the next concern is mana cost. I know with the removal of Replica's Conquer Efficiency, many of you are going to ask, how will mana fare in this build? Is it too much? Are we able to sustain? The answer is yes. Okay. So POB has introduced a very nice feature over here. It basically shows you how much mana cost you're going to use per second. Okay. So it really scales based on your attack rate and it's quite accurate. I'm just going to do the maths right here. Alright. So let's just say, let me bring out my calculator. Quick one. Where is my calculator? Alright. So Cyclone, we're going to have 20 mana. Alright. I'm just going to round off. Alright. 20 mana. And then your Ice Nova, we are going to have 70 mana because 7 mana cost each and 10 procs, so it's plus 70. Alright, so now 90 mana. And next, we are going to trigger from Cosprey as well. So Frostbolt is 17. Trigger rate is only 3.38, so 57. Alright, I'm just going to plus 57. Right, 147. Okay, and then the last but not least is your Vortex debuff, right? Your Vortex Hex Touch. I'm just going to plus 8. Right, so total, right, we are going to have about 155 mana used per second. Okay, our unreserved mana is 153, so it's a little bit off. And our leech is definitely there. So our leech is 242 per second, okay? So in that case, right, it's definitely enough. You gotta take into consideration of the mana regen also, right? So with the mana regen, we are hitting nearly 300 mana gain per second. That is definitely more than enough to cover up this 155 mana per second. However, if you are actually going to take other stuff like acceleration shrine, maybe your Headhunter buffs and stuff like that, there might be some issues. Alright, I've encountered this issue before when I have Headhunter and I just spin too fast and my mana depletes way too fast. So you just be careful of that. It is not the worst. It is not doable, but it is still okay. Right, so mana issues aside, skill gems, everything is still the same. I have two different sections, one for Headhunter. So if you are using Headhunter, please use this. Basically, your difference is only your Awaken cast on the critical strike, and you need it at level 6 for the increased cooldown recovery rate. Alright, and this is the most important one. Okay, your items. What are the changes? I'm not going to go through every single thing, but I'm just going to go through the changes. So, first of all, your Incursion Glove. It is okay to have one line of energy shield only, okay? If you have 2 lines of energy shield, then it is a bonus, but it might be a little bit hard to find. Make sure you have an empty suffix and also an incursion resistance mod. Right? It can be fire, it can be cold, it can be lightning, it doesn't matter. As long as it has the incursion mod, like let's say for example, the lightning one was lightning resistance and increase or add. No, sorry, let's just talk with the fire one because I forget what is the lightning. Fire resistance plus increased burning damage. Right? So if you get that incursion, if you found that incursion glove on the market with the empty suffix and 1 energy shield line, you can purchase that as well. All you need to do is go to Harvest, Benchcraft, and then change the resistance from fire to cold. Okay, you will get this exact modifier as well. Increase damage with hits against 2 enemies. And if you do not like the number, let's say you got a very low roll, 30%, right? You can keep repeating the process, which means you can convert to lightning and then convert to cold again. It will actually change the numbers for you. Okay, so please guys, do take note of that. Benchcraft has to be 12% attack speed. Alright, unless you have other sources of attack speed. Alright, and the boost is still the same, so everything else is still the same. Yes, one thing to take note, for this attribute ring, you are actually only lacking fire resistance. That's why it's Ruby Ring. However, if you have fire resistance elsewhere, which can cover this 30%, alright, it has to be 30%. Best is 30%, alright. You can actually neglect a Ruby Ring base. So you can search for another ring, let's say maybe one unset ring, so they can put a portal inside, right? So do take note of that. And this is actually the new changes, okay? I did not notice it until recently. So now, right, you can actually benchcraft the increased cooldown recovery rate, and it works with CoC. Okay, it works with CoC now. I think previously benchcraft doesn't work with CoC for some reason. The proc rate wasn't exactly there. Right? I'm not sure exactly what was the interaction. I'm not sure if it's a bug. I'm not sure if it's intended also. But now it works. Okay, now it works. I've tested quite a few times, and I can guarantee you it works. So with these changes, right, this build actually becomes way more cheaper and easier to find. So what we want to find now is basically your strength, okay, and maximum energy shield with a empty suffix slot. That's all you need. That is all you need. Alright. The flask applied to you have 8% increase effect. It's just a bonus. Where is my? Give me a minute. Where is my belt? Alright, it's here. Okay. So this flask applied to you has an increased effect, right? It's just a bonus, okay? You can live without it, or you can add armor, or you can even add elemental damage. Alright, it is really up to you. It is really up to you. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It really boils down to what you can find in the market. So you see, I can even add elemental damage. Alright, it gives me more DPS, but it kind of gives me less armor, less chaos resistance, basically whatever is in your flask. Right, so it's really up to you. And if you feel you want more armor for that physical damage reduction, you can just go for armor instead. Okay, so everything else is very normal over here. Okay, and the flask. So the flask, I have came to a decision that actually, okay, wait, there is something different over here. So this has to be the critical one. So this is what I'm actually using right now. Alright. Okay. So previously I have used the abundant quicksilver flask, which gives you maximum charges, and I think this is still perfectly fine. You want to have 3 charges of quicksilver just in case there are special circumstances that you die to something else, or it's a mistake from your own end that you die. You know, you just basically stand still, or I don't know how you die, okay? Whatever how you die, you have to walk a long way through the map. This is where the Quicksilver Flask comes in. And when you're fighting bosses, 3 charges of Quicksilver Flask is really very crucial. Right? And the next one is our Specialist Diamond Flask. So Specialist is basically your chance to gain a flask charge whenever you do a critical strike. And I'm going to emphasize this again, alright? This particular mod does not stack with another flask, which means there is actually a number of times you can only gain a flask charge every millisecond or something like that. I don't know exactly what is the number, but let's just say if you proc one of them, okay, it doesn't mean that both charges will have a flask charge, okay? It is only one of them, and then after that there will be a cooldown. I really do not know what's the cooldown. Maybe it's 0.3 milliseconds, 0.3 seconds, 0.3 seconds. I think so. And then you will get another flask charger. So it doesn't mean you proc one, all of your flask charges, all of your flasks will get one flask charge, okay? So do remember this very closely. And then we will have the Specialist Granite Flask also, and then the Specialist Amethyst Flask. So why 3 of them, even though I have mentioned that the flask charges does not stack and it does not go up what do you call that, accordingly, like together at the same time. So the whole purpose of this specialist flask is because if you actually meet a rare monster that is very very tanky, you might have issues with clearing it, and eventually your flask charges will run out. Okay, I have encountered those monsters, rare monsters that are very very hard to kill, even on high budget. Sometimes it can be essence, okay, and I ran out of flask charges to actually kill it. So after that, I swapped to 3 of the specialist flasks, and I realized I can sustain it. Right, that is where when you actually fight all these monsters, the Quicksilver flask comes in very handy. You need to know when to actually press this. So let's say if you are below 50% ES, okay, then you press your Quicksilver flask, or you activate your Quicksilver flask, and you will start regenerating back. Alright, and then Bottle Fate is the last one. Simple, no changes. Right, and here comes the jewel. Okay, so this is the most important part, or the most number of changes. First of all, okay, I'm just gonna put it over here using the skill tree. So first of all, your large cluster jewel and medium cluster jewel has no changes. Alright, I have removed the resistance from the medium cluster jewel, so whatever you get, the other 2 lines of modifier is a bonus. Okay, best is chaos resistance, of course. Same over here. The large cluster jewel, please take note, blanketed snow is not mandatory. You can have other options. I have listed in my trade links as well. Stuff like a blast freeze, inspire oppression, cold to the core, they all work as well. Okay, it's just that blanketed snow is the best, but it is freaking goddamn expensive. So I do not think it's worth it at my point, because this is basically a mapping build. Right, maybe blanketed snow might scale way more better with Ice Spear. Alright, okay. And our jewels, so one of them has to be a corrupted blood that cannot be inflicted on you, and you have to have 5% attack speed, and then 1 line of crit multiplier. Alright, and the other one is also another corrupted base jewel, but this one has 2% increased reservation efficiency of skills, so that we can use the 350% skill aura on our Prism Guardian. Alright, please remember, don't ask me again. This is very important for you to activate 3 of the 50% aura on your Prism Guardian. If you do not have this, you cannot activate them. I have many people coming to ask me, hey bro, how come you cannot, how come I cannot activate 350%? The reason is always because of this. Please remember, you need to have this. Okay, so the other mods is just 1 increased attack speed while holding a shield. So basically over here, right, it's just 11% increased attack speed total. Okay, I don't care how or whatever mod you get, everything is in the trade links on the filter options. You can just change them accordingly. Just make sure you have the correct attack speed, which I will mention again later. Alright, and preferably one of the jewel, you will actually need to have this 5% reduced mana cost of skill. 1 is good, 2 is a bonus. Alright, if 2, then you probably won't have to bother about mana anymore. Okay, and then next is our Thread of Hope. Yes, I have removed the corrupted version because I have realized that thing is very very expensive. Okay, I was hoping it to be around 4 div or something, but apparently it escalated to more than 10 divine. So I guess I was actually very lucky to buy 1 at 1 divine when the league start. So forgive me, people. So yes, we will just have a normal Thread of Hope over here. Make sure it's a large ring. Okay, and the rest has no changes. Our energy from within is definitely the corrupted version. Militant Fate. So this one I have also removed the there's one reduced mana cost per 10 devotion. Okay, that was previously. I have removed that, and now you can either choose 3 of the options: increase area damage, increase elemental damage, and increase non-curse aura effect. Right, any one of this is fine, or if you want to live without it, it is also fine. Okay, so for this Militant Fate, I want to emphasize very strongly, you have to check the numbers of it. You have to check the seed number, like the first line of mod you see, Carve to Glorify something new faithful converted by High Templar Dominus. Okay, this number is so important because if you were to buy the wrong number and you're going to block off your own nodes, let's say Overcharge, Fate and Steel, or Divine Judgment, you are going to rebuy it again. So how you can do this is, guys, head over to your Militant Fate Jewel, okay, over here, and edit, okay, edit. You have to find which of the line is Dominus. So Dominus is actually on the second line. Let me just show you now. Alright, so you see, Templar Dominus, okay. What you want to do, okay, what you want to do is highlight this number, delete it, okay, delete it completely, and whichever you see on the market, you input that number over here. So let's just say I'm going to give you a random number, maybe 8493, okay, something like that. I do not know what the heck is this number. I'm just going to save it, okay, I'm going to save it, save, and then you're going to come back over here and make sure you check all of the mods are not blocked. So for this 8493, which I have keyed in randomly, look, it actually blocked off my Divine Judgment. Okay, so which means you cannot use this Militant Fate. Do not buy it. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay, you have to be very careful with this. Same as usual, there are many players that actually came to me and asked me why the nodes are blocked. What am I supposed to do? Stuff like that. So you really have to take note of that. Okay. And then last but not least, we have our Watcher's Eye. I think this is the same, the usual. So you have at least 1.68. Okay, preferably 1.7% critical strike chance. Okay, I think I have moved the meter a little bit, so it does not matter. If you're around that range, then you'll hit 100% crit strike chance for sure. Alright, and then last but not least, our Natural Instinct. This is still the best over here. This thing cannot be removed away. This is too good. Alright, give you attack speed, give you accuracy, give you movement speed, give you dex as well. So yeah, there are a lot of things right here. Okay, so that is all. So the next portion is, after you have farmed this build, what is next for you? Same, we are going to go with the Headhunter. Alright, so Headhunter is over here. You just need to replace the belt and basically have an elevated cooldown recovery boots. Right, elevator is because we will need that 18%. Right, 18%, and then that's why you have your level 6 awaken cast on crit, which is over here. Okay, your level 6 is going to give you 34%. So 34 plus 18 is 52%, and that will help you meet the threshold for the highest tier of the cooldown recovery. Alright, so yes, you just need to change these three items. Basically your Headhunter, buying a Headhunter, and then changing your boost to an elevated version, and then you have to change your skill gem to level 6 COC. Okay, it might sound very simple, guys, but I am going to tell you this is a very steep, expensive step. Right, easily this boost is going to cost you 20 div. Easily the level 6 awaken cast on crit is going to cost you like more than 6 divine. Okay, if you're lucky you can get lower. And we all know how expensive Headhunter is. So Headhunter is, I don't know, 100 div, right? So all in all, you're going to spend like at least 125 div or something like that. Okay. And the last one is bossing. Alright, if you are really going to boss, there is only one changes, which is to change your 4th flask from the amethyst to the silver flask. Why is this so? It's because when you are fighting big bosses, pinnacle bosses, you are not going to have any monsters around. Alright, you're just going to hit the boss. So you will not actually be activating or tailwind over here. Onslaught over here. And that is where this silver flask come in, which is really specially just to fight bosses. Alright, your pinnacle bosses and stuff like that. Okay, so please remember, when you're fighting the bosses, you need to have this flask. Otherwise, you will not have onslaught, and your attack rate will actually go down by a lot, which means you have a lot less DPS than usual. Right, so that is all. The rest is basically just over here. You can read it on your own, the notes. This is for the Ice Nova. Oh yes, one more last thing. I'm sorry. Guys, if you are playing CoC and you actually want to do Searing as such, what I recommend is you gotta change your minor god. Alright, change to Ebereth is right here. Okay, So change to Aberrath. Alright, you will need to change to Aberrath because there's a lot of burning ground, and it actually might kill you over time. You will not even notice it. Okay, change to Aberrath and change this Elemental Mastery to here, this minus 18% exposure. Alright, and what happens is when you change this, you can no longer do reflect maps. Okay, so you have to eliminate the option of doing reflect maps. You are not immune to it anymore. Okay, so just take note for this portion. One more thing to add on over here, please make sure, right, whatever sources of attack speed you have, make sure that your cost speed is 40% attack speed, and then overall you are just gonna need 71% increase attack speed. Okay, I don't care where you get from or how you get from, you have to make sure that you are going to hit 71%, because 71% is going to give you 10.08 APS, which is the closest we can get for this build, right? The threshold is basically 10.07 and 10.08 is very close. Just ignore that 0.01, it's not going to matter a lot. Okay, so this is one more thing you need to take note of. And for those of you that doesn't want or doesn't have the currency to get these helmets yet, you can actually change the helmet to the mid-budget build version first. So Crown of the Inward Eye is also possible. Alright, and then for those of you that really loves Shrine, you can actually use the Gao as well. Okay, so the helmet is basically just a source of ES plus additional damage in short. Alright, and so this is the Ice Spear variant. So the difference in the skill tree is only 2 nodes, which is Foresight over here and the small ES nodes. We are going to give up this because we will be taking the full medium cluster nodes. Alright, it is much needed. It adds a lot more damage. Alright, I'm talking like in millions. So it is worth it to give up a little bit more ES for a lot more damage, and it is because this build is a bossing build. Alright, so we're gonna focus a lot more damage. I felt that at around 5.5k ES is actually more than enough already. So we'll be sitting at about 5.3k ES if most of your items are like at tier 2 or tier 1 ES. Alright, and you can see the DPS is very close to 30 million. This is really nuts. We all know how powerful Ice Spear is in single target damage, and that's why I mentioned many times Ice Spear is for bossing. Alright, it is not so good at mapping. Okay, so you should get around this kind of DPS. And what about mana cost? So mana cost, I'm going to calculate for you. So the first one is 10, and then you will have Ice Spear. Alright, first form or projectile is going to be very steep. Alright, it's 121. Okay, so for now it's 131 total including Cyclone. And we have our cost speed trigger. So cost speed trigger is not really a lot. Okay, not really a lot. Right, let me just bring our calculator for you guys to see again. So okay, Cyclone is 10, Ice Spear is 121. Right, it is really a lot. Okay, so now it's 131, and then we have Crippling Frost, which is 26. Alright, and then we also have Frost Bomb, which is just 1. Okay, I'm just gonna add 1. I'm just gonna add 1. And then we have Vortex, which is 8. Okay, plus 8. So you can see we are sitting at 166 mana cost per second. Alright, we are gonna have 200 plus leech as well. It is the same as Ice Nova. Okay, 246, and on top of your 48 mana regen, you are definitely going to have more than enough. Okay, more than enough. So just do take note of this. You will not have to worry about mana cost. Right. As usual, everything else is the same. I have the different various skill trees, so have a look at yourself. The transition from 95 to 100 actually has a very big, not an extremely big leap, but you're gonna have a much better time bossing than level 95. Okay, I'll leave that to you. Skills, everything is still the same, of course, just that you change your Ice Nova to Ice Sphere. No longer using Awaken added cold damage, so you're gonna use greater multiple projectiles. If you are feeling rich, you can buy the Awaken GMP. Alright, but I felt it's not really needed at this point of time. Your damage is already so high, you are probably gonna just one shot everything like bosses. Right, bosses. Okay, items. So this is the real deal. This is the different changes. On your incursion glove, you are no longer going to have the implicit where you have cold exposure on hit. Instead, you are going to change projectiles pierce one additional target. Why is this important? Because sometimes when you fight invitation bosses, you're going to have two unique bosses, right? Or two pinnacle bosses. And this is where this pierce one additional target comes in handy, okay? You are never, I don't think there will be a situation where you actually fight 3 unique bosses or 4 unique bosses at one time and they're all pinnacle bosses. I don't think that's ever going to happen. So the most is like maybe Uber Elder, right? Uber Elder, you're gonna have 2 unique pinnacle bosses, right? And the invitation, you're gonna have 2 as well, correct? So 1 is more than enough. Alright, attack speed wise is 10% on the glove. Of course, please do take note that our total we need is 71% increased attack speed. So feel free, this is very flexible, alright? Feel free to adjust or change this whichever you need. Boots is the same, everything else is the same. Over here is also the same, alright? Just that bossing, of course, you use the silver flask. And then here, our 5th unique flask is different. Of course, you're not going to use Bottle Faith, you're going to use Dying Sun instead because of the projectiles. And for here, right, the enchantment is different, okay? You are going to use a, let me see. So yes, you are going to use the Enkindling Orb, right, to have the increased effect but gain no charges during effect. You are going to only use this flask when you are attacking the boss, right? It makes sense, right? Because if you are not attacking the boss, let's say you are mapping or killing some other small monsters, you don't need this Dying Sun to kill them. You are already killing all of them one shot. So the Dying Sun is really just meant for like when you are focusing on hitting the boss really very hard. That's where you press this or activate this Dying Sun. Okay. Changes, I'm going to go back to the skill tree. So changes is basically your cluster jewel. Now you are going to have one cluster jewel that is projectile damage, okay? And we are going to have eye to eye and repeater. This is going to give us attack speed plus projectile and tons of projectile damage, right? And the next one is we are going to have a crit cluster jewel, right? One of them is pressure point and the other one is quick getaway for attack speed and movement speed and crit strike chance, right? Previously, I actually tried to use 2 projectile and I realized that I do not have enough crit chance. So I think hitting crit chance 100% is really very important. So I will need this crit medium cluster jewel to hit 100%. Alright, this is not a choice given. Right, and for our base jewel, the first one that I'm going to introduce to you, the changes, is basically your pure talent. Okay, pure talent is going to give you 0.5% base additional crit strike chance. Please take note of this. This is important, and you gotta have a corrupted implicit. Either corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you, or the 2% reservation efficiency. I think corrupted blood cannot be inflicted on you is much more common, and it costs about 1 divine orb. Okay, 1 divine orb. Okay, and then next will be our reservation efficiency corrupted jewel. This is the same as Ice Nova. You just need to have this, and then your mana cost of skill plus 1 crit line multiplier. Okay, everything else is still the same. Oh yes, this has changed also. So it's the same as Ice Nova. Our Thread of Hope is no longer going to need the corrupted implicit. It is far too expensive. I am pretty sure many of you guys will not be able to afford it, or you won't even afford it as well. Right? And this is also the changes. So basically, you're gonna have Elemental Mastery with exposure to have more than 18% of the affected resistance. Alright, so it's going to help you hit boss much harder. We don't really need the immunity to reflect over here. So if you're really doing mappings with this boss, with this build, sorry, please take note that you have to reroll reflect immune maps. Right, so yes, that is the changes. Basically, I'm going to jump right into the Mageblood now. So for if you want to go into the next step, this is even more steep than Headhunter, so be prepared. Alright, you're gonna need the elevated cooldown recovery boots, 18% as usual, and then of course you change this to Mageblood, which gives you the level 6 awaken cast on crit. You need it. Alright, and then you have Mageblood, of course, which is like the most expensive shit right now as always. This is gonna help you do your bosses a lot much faster, stronger, better, and with ease. Okay, and your flasks, you actually have to change them completely. This is to help you with your Mageblood. Basically your prefix, you're gonna want to have all of them the same, which is reduced duration and increased effect. Alright, they are the same throughout the whole tier, so I don't care which duration you get, but it is always going to be 25% increased effect. And it's going to be the same. You're going to have spell damage, leech, increased critical strike chance, granite with the improved armor, increased armor, and then last is your silver flask with 60% reduced effect of curses on you. So with this, you are immune to curse completely. Alright. I don't know what map mods you're gonna roll, but you're gonna be immune completely, whether is it the boss inflict on you or whatsoever. And silver flask, you're gonna have permanent onslaught. It's gonna be super awesome, right? But the step, like I say, the progress from a high budget to a Mageblood is very, very expensive. Right, okay, that is all for this video. I hope you guys have a rough idea on what are the changes. I can tell you the build is not as expensive as the previous leagues because of the changes I made, and now we are using one less large cluster jewel. So much cheaper than before, alright? I would say about 10 divine less than usual. And if you are transiting from the mid-budget build, it's even more cheap. Alright? So yes, all the best. Enjoy this build. Okay, that comes to the end of this video. So if you have any questions, do join the Discord and I will try to answer your questions. And if you like my video, do remember to hit the like and subscribe button. I will see you in the next one. Bye.